Hello wrestling fans out there, Dean the General from Three of a Kind. We're going to do a tier list on World Wrestling Federation's top male superstars during the kindergarten years, which lasted from approximately 1984 until 1990. Factors include their ring ability, personality, longevity, and achievements. Everyone is going to be in a category going from worst to best, and obviously the last one is most important. Starting with Babyfaces lacking a convincing persona. Hillbilly Jim was around during the late 1980s without ever doing much. Davey Boy Smith and Dynamite Kid were part of the amazing tag team British Bulldogs. The latter was definitely the better athlete. Jimmy Superfly Snuka was mostly around during the early to mid 1980s and never captured a title. Shawn Michaels was the best part of the Rockers, teaming with Marty Jannetty until the early 90s. He would definitely see better things in that decade. The next group are Likeable heels. Big John Studd should have been a champion, but was usually a tag team partner with Ken Patera or King Kong Bundy. Greg the Hammer Valentine was both Intercontinental and Tag Team Champion, but was not a convincing enough character. The Honky Tonk Man was the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion of the 20th century and was arguably the #1 heel in the company for a couple years. The aforementioned big man, King Kong Bundy, was the second largest man of that era and should have been a champion of some kind. Cowboy Bob Orton Jr., otherwise known as Ace, was a bodyguard for a while and definitely a great wrestler. However, he never achieved much in the ring. The magnificent Don Muraco was Intercontinental Champion for a short while and was definitely someone the crowds loved to hate. Next up, comedic brawlers who were generally main event stars. Adrian Adonis was briefly a tag team champion who eventually became the Adorable One. Brutus Beefcake teamed with Greg the Hammer Valentine. They were champions for a while and eventually he became a face called the Barber. George the Animal Steel hardly performed any legal wrestling moves but was definitely funny and the fans loved him when he turned face in 1985. Before that, he was a pretty convincing heel. Junkyard Dog should have been a champion, loved by fans, and obviously was never going to turn on any of his tag partners. The Ultimate Warrior was both Intercontinental and Heavyweight Champion, but somehow never lived up to his full potential. Still, his interviews were pretty great. The Rowdy One, Roddy Piper, was easily the best talk show host ever and a great heel. He turned face in 1986 and pretty much stayed that way on and off for 10 years. Andre the Giant was easily the best face until Hulk Hogan became champion. He stole the heavyweight title and was a pretty great heel for a few years, however retired the way he started. Mr. Wonderful, Paul Orndorff, was both great as a heel and face, although his interviews were lacking somewhat. Our last category are those who were great or at least competent in every single area. Tito Santana was Intercontinental Champion on 2 occasions. Unfortunately, he had it stolen the second time and eventually wound up Tag Team Champion with Rick Martel. Jake the Snake Roberts had his own talk show called The Snake Pit and was convincing on both sides of the fence. The Iron Sheik was heavyweight champion for a while and was also a tag champion with Nikolai Volkov. His interviews were absolutely hilarious. Mr. Perfect, Kurt Hennig, arrived on the scene in the late 80s and eventually became Intercontinental Champion. Ricky the Dragon Steamboat also held that title briefly in 1987. He was actually at his peak a couple years before that until WrestleMania 3. Bret Hitman Hart held pretty much every title imaginable. Pretty great as Jim the Anvil Neidhart's partner and obviously went on to better things in the 90s. Randy Macho Man Savage was arguably the greatest heel of the era, holding both the Intercontinental and Heavyweight titles. No surprise, Hulk Hogan is our number one pick. He was the most important star of both rock and wrestling and the late 1980s. Never officially losing the title until The Ultimate Warrior beat him at WrestleMania 6. He eventually left the company in 1993, returning triumphantly in 2002. Check out 3 of a Kind for mostly videos on pop and rock music. Subscribe, comment, like, and once again, thanks for watching.